Puppet Master: The Littlest Reich is the newest film in the long-running franchise. This one is a remake, or reboot, gotta hate that word, that starts a new story with the killer puppets. In a pretty cool twist, this new series of Puppet Master films will be made at the same time as the old series of films. So we're gonna keep getting the original movies as well as these new ones. This is a great way to go, and I would be happy if more horror franchises did this sort of thing. Anyway, October is a busy month for horror films, and I will have reviews for lots of new and old ones coming up, so be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on anything. I'll always have a soft spot for the Puppet Master series. I loved these movies as a kid, and me and my friends and younger sister would always pick puppets to be in each movie. I was always Blade, the coolest one, of course. My wonderful wife recently got me an amazing Blu-ray box set with all 11 original Puppet Master films, plus a bonus disc and collectible booklet. It's even autographed by Puppet Master creator Charles Band. Jealous? Although there was a noticeable drop in quality after Puppet Master 5, these movies are still good cheesy fun. When this newest movie was first announced, it had a lot of positive buzz. The budget would be bigger than the last chunk of old movies, and there was going to be an increase in blood and guts, which is always a good thing. Needless to say, I was pretty hyped when I snatched the Blu-ray up on release day. So did it live up to my expectations? Let's find out. This movie begins in 1989 with an evil and disfigured André Toulon, the creator of the puppets. In the old movies, he was a good guy who fought against the Nazis. In this one, he's a full-on evil, racist Nazi scumbag. This evil version of Toulon is played to perfection by Udo Kier, but he's sadly underused. He actually only appears in the opening scene, and that's it. So he gets disgusted by the bartender and her girlfriend and storms out.
Disgusting homosexual.
He has his puppets murder them both, then is quickly gunned down by the police. This leads to a nicely animated opening credits sequence. Flash forward 30 years and a recently divorced comic book writer named Edgar decides to go to a convention celebrating the Toulon murders, which is kind of weird. Apparently, Toulon created lots of puppets back in the day that were sold all over the world. This was before he was found out to be a Nazi murderer, of course. Edgar has an old puppet that he plans to sell at the auction there. This is our first look at the redesigned Blade puppet. I gotta say, he looks pretty cool. I'll always like the old Blade better, of course, but the new one is great. So Edgar, his new girlfriend, and his buddy head to the convention. Once there, they take part in a tour that fills us in on Toulon's backstory a bit more. The cop is played by 80s Scream Queen Barbara Crampton, who had a small part in the original Puppet Master movie. It's a nice little throwback to the old movie, and she does a great job as the badass cop. So once the convention kicks into high gear, all hell breaks loose as the puppets come to life and kill everyone. Since most of the people attending the convention brought puppets to sell in the auction, this leads to multiple puppets running amok. We have lots of different Blade puppets running around, Torch, new drone puppets, and even a baby Hitler. The new puppets are actually pretty cool, I gotta say. The movie pushes the boundaries of taste and really goes out of its way to be offensive, with the puppets targeting people specifically for being Jewish and African American and all that kind of stuff.
These are hate crimes, Detective.
It's all done in a more comedic way so as not to be too off-putting, but it does go pretty far, especially a scene where one of the puppets murders a pregnant woman. So the movie ends on a cliffhanger and sets things up for a part 2. It leaves a lot of stuff hanging and doesn't even remotely try to explain much, which is a little frustrating. So what did I like? Well, as I mentioned, the puppets are awesome. The updated versions of the old ones and the brand new puppets are all very cool. It's nice seeing the puppets evil again. I've never been big on them turning into good guys in the old series. And the production values in this movie are the best they've been in this series since the mid-90s. I also love the score by Fabio Frizzi. He did the music for lots of 80s Italian horror films from Lucio Fulci, my favorite Italian filmmaker. I did miss the iconic Puppet Master theme from the old movies by Richard Band though. It's in this new movie a little bit, but not much. The cast is pretty likable and does a good job, and the effects for the most part are good. It's old school stuff without computer effects, so I was happy to see that. The biggest problem I had with this film is the direction by Tommy Wickland and Sonny Laguna. Look, it doesn't give me a lot of joy to criticize filmmakers, especially horror movie ones. These two guys are out there making movies while I'm sitting here in my underwear making crappy YouTube videos. The irony is not lost upon me, okay? but the direction and staging and lighting of some scenes lets the movie down. There's also some logic problems in there too. For example, during the 1989 prologue, we have the scene where the two cops find the dead bodies of the women. They notice some small footprints leading away from the crime scene and comment that it must be made by a raccoon. It then cuts to them arriving at Toulon's mansion with guns blazing. Why? What led them to believe Toulon had anything to do with this? Did they follow the tiny footsteps to his place? I guess maybe some witnesses at the bar told them the victims had a run-in with Toulon? None of this is explained or shown. The cops just arrive at his place and immediately open fire. It's weird. We need a reason for this scene to happen, don't we? As for the direction, many scenes are too dark and sometimes it's kinda hard to tell what's happening. I guess you can say it's a problem with the DP, but the directors are working hand in hand with the director of photography, so they share much of the blame. The effects, when lit properly, look great, but there are some shots that don't come off as well, and I think it has a lot to do with the lighting. I'm not sure what happened here, but why is the blood black? When the torch puppet kills this couple, it comes off so awkwardly. The guy is holding the puppet and immediately proceeds to barbecue their faces. But instead of dropping it, they stand still like mannequins and let themselves be burned. Then we have an awkward cut to their fallen, burned bodies. I don't know, maybe I'm just nitpicking too much, but I just feel like a lot of this stuff could have been done in a more effective way. As I mentioned earlier, the ending is frustrating. Edgar and his girlfriend make it to the little shack near Toulon's house, which Edgar surmises is what's causing the puppets to come to life. Once there, they come across a zombie Toulon. His return 30 years later is never explained. The zombie is just there for some reason. It looks pretty cool, but again, the lighting is just a bit too dark. So Zombie Toulon kills Edgar's girlfriend, and we immediately cut to Edgar at a comic book signing. I guess he put his experiences into the newest issue of his comic series, and says that there's more to tell. To be continued. I don't know, I just didn't find the ending to be satisfying. I get that it's a cliffhanger, but it just didn't really work for me. The general tone of the film is trying to be like Evil Dead 2, I think, which is great, but there are tonal shifts throughout the movie that can be a little jarring at times. Balancing between horror and comedy is very difficult, and I don't think this film was entirely successful in accomplishing that. So am I being too anal about this? I sometimes wonder if I'm too hard on modern horror movies. If this exact movie had been released when I was a kid, would I love every minute of it? I think I probably would have had some problems, but who knows? I can only go off of my feelings now as an adult. And I'm not saying this is a terrible movie by any means. I just feel like it had some big flaws that kept it from being great. In the end, I found myself a little disappointed. This movie had all the ingredients for an excellent film, but it just didn't quite pull it off for me. It's absolutely worth checking out, and I'm proud to add it to my Puppet Master collection. Perhaps my expectations were just too high, but I'm happy this series is continuing, and I look forward to seeing the next one. So what did you guys think of this movie? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.